Hello and welcome to the FATBOSS guide to Shad'har on normal and heroic in Ny'alotha.
Yes, this three-phase encounter isn't overly complex, so it should be a quick one to explain, but it's important that you understand the mechanics as you can easily wipe if this fight isn't done properly. So let's jump straight into it.
So throughout the entire fight, the tanks will have to deal with a combo on a timer. The boss will cast 3 times, one after another, choosing randomly from 2 different spells. Crush deals a burst of physical damage and increases the physical damage you take by 50%, but also increases the damage you take from Dissolve by 400%, and both of these effects stack. And the Dissolve cast is just a light magic damage hit, followed up by a dot. The way to deal with this combo is for one tank to take all the Crush hits, and the other to take all the Dissolve hits. If you're ever hit with a Dissolve whilst you have a Crush stack, it hurts so much that without a massive cooldown such as Zen Med, you'll die extremely fast. Whilst you could pre-assign what tank takes what spell before you even pull the boss, typically this isn't a good idea unless one of the tank has 2 taunts, as you could potentially run out of them mid-combo if the combo begins on the incorrect tank. So the first tank should be ready to take either of the hits right at the start of the combo. After the combo is finished, the tank with a Dissolve stack should keep the boss, as the Crush tank will be taking additional damage from the boss's melee hits. For healers to watch out for during the fight is the constant raid-wide ticking damage, as well as the debilitating spit debuff. This is applied to a single player with 4 stacks. It's simply a dot, but it hits like a truck, and if you're too slow to swap to the player and keep them up, they can potentially die to other incoming damage. Once the debuff expires, it will jump to 2 other players at half the stacks, dealing half the damage, so it becomes less important to focus. The only other ability that is same throughout the fight is the Living Miasma. This ad will spawn in the puddles around the outside of the platform, fixating a random player and chasing them down. Once it reaches them, it explodes, dealing raid-wide damage that is reduced by distance. So if you're fixated, make sure you move away from the rest of the raid and let it explode at a good distance.
Now during phase 1 you want the raid to be spread around the platform, and you want to tank the boss in the middle of the room. The boss has a long casted breath that will be targeted at a random player. This is very easy to move from, and by spreading around the room it reduces the chance you'll even need to move from it in the first place. Being spread also helps with the eruption circles that spawn underneath players. These come in more frequently as the phase goes on, and it actually deals quite a lot of damage if you're hit by them, so make sure that you're not. Once you get the boss to 66%, phase 2 will begin. The breath in this phase is almost unavoidable as the cast is extremely quick. You want to continue to spread around the room so that the amount of players hit by it are reduced, but the important thing is that this particular breath reduces the incoming healing that you get by 50%. That means that you should definitely not stand anywhere near the tanks, because if they get hit by this breath, they're going to really struggle to stay alive. Now the raid-wide ticking damage in this phase increases over time, so healers should be ready to pump more towards the 33% health mark where the damage is going to be at its highest. In this phase you'll also have orbs spawn in random locations. These explode after 15 seconds, dealing raid-wide damage. However, you can soak to remove them, but you will gain a stacking dot doing so. So to spread the dot out, you want to have multiple people soak each orb just to make everything a little bit safer. Once you're at 33%, you'll transition into the last phase. The breath here is back to a long cast, so it's very possible to avoid, and it's easy to do so as well because here you'll want to stack in melee for the last mechanic. The boss right at the start of the phase will spawn a patch of goo in the middle of the room that will slowly grow to cover the entire platform, and throughout the phase he'll be spawning a bunch of similar puddles underneath random players. These patches deal really nasty ticking damage if you stand in them. So you'll want to tank the boss at the side of the room, have the raid stack behind him, and every time puddles spawn underneath players, you can just move the boss slowly around the outskirts of the room, whilst the raid follows you, only moving when puddles spawn under them or when the breath is targeted at them. To make this phase safer, you'll definitely want to Bloodlust, that way you should never see the platform covered and it won't force you into the water, which buffs the boss and deals damage to you. Additionally, the boss in this phase is just doing a flat % more damage, so the quicker you're out of this phase, the better.
But that's the fight, but before you go, if you'd like to know more about the encounter or just have a reference ready for your raid before you go in, then do check out our guide over on Wowhead. A link for that can be found in the description below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next guide.
Thanks for watching.